අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT මොබිටෙල් දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Sunday the 23rd of April 2023. Righting wrongs. Express Pearl case to be filed at a commercial court in Singapore tomorrow. Assistance. Food and Agriculture Organization and the European Union launch €4 million program to assist farmers in the country. Progress. Delft Island police arrest main suspect regarding 5-person murder reported on island yesterday.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Alliance Finance මෙතුරු රන්නයි සේවාවෙන් රන් පවුම්කට රුපියල් 1,70,000ක ඉහළ අධිකාරම.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟම ඇති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
Very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. In your top story for tonight, the Attorney General's Department has decided now to file the case regarding the Express Pearl vessel that caught fire off the coast of Colombo in 2021 at a commercial court in Singapore. This move is, however, contrary to the recommendations made by the expert committee that was appointed by the Cabinet to look into the matter. The expert committee had recommended that the case to be filed in the country in order to get the $6.2 billion in compensation. The Attorney General's Department has decided to file a case before commercial court in Singapore tomorrow against the shipping company of MV Express Pearl, which sank off the western coast of Sri Lanka after being gutted in a massive fire 2 years ago. Accordingly, the Attorney General's Department will demand compensation for the massive environmental damage caused by the shipwreck. Sri Lanka witnessed what is considered one of the worst marine environmental disasters after the Singapore flag container ship vessel, only 3 months after being commissioned, caught fire some 16 kilometers off Colombo on the 20th of May 2021, while transporting 1,500 containers, including 25 tons of nitric acid. The fire that continued for nearly 2 weeks resulted in a massive spillage of damaged containers, microplastic, plastic pellets, chemicals and other harmful substances into the sea. Following the disaster, the Marine Environment Protection Authority appointed a committee of experts comprising professors and other relevant top public officials to assess the damage. Earlier, the MIPA said it has provided all necessary documents to the Attorney General's Department to prosecute the ship owner or the operator or the ship's agents in Sri Lanka under the criminal law in terms of Section 26 of the Prevention of Maritime Corruption Act. As the approval of the Cabinet of Ministers was previously given to continue the litigation process in Singapore, the Attorney General's Department recently mentioned that it is proceeding with the legal matter accordingly. However, the committee of expert lawyers appointed to look into the matter has suggested that the prosecution be done in Sri Lanka to recover the estimated $6.2 billion in damages. The decision to continue the legal proceedings in Singapore attracted criticism as it was deemed a very costly move. The MIPA, however, explained that the Australian law firm which is assisting the Attorney General's Department with a civil suit to claim compensation has advised that carrying out the litigation process in Singapore is favourable to the island nation. Moving on to your next story, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations together with the European Union launched a €4 million program targeting paddy farmers in Sri Lanka. Accordingly, 71,000 smallholder paddy farmers and 1,200 paddy seed farmers across 7 districts including Polonnaruwa, Badulla, Ampara, Matale, Puttalam, Kurunegala and Hambantota districts who were severely impacted by the recent economic crisis will be targeted. Some 16 kilometers off Colombo, the Organization of the United Nations together with the European Union officially launched a new program to strengthen food security in Sri Lanka by boosting the productivity and sustainability of the paddy cultivation sector. The €4 million initiative funded by the EU was initiated at an event held at the Agro-Technology Park in Hambantota under the auspices of Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera, EU Ambassador to Sri Lanka Denny Chaibi, and FAO representative in Sri Lanka Pimlendran Charan. Implemented by the FAO with the support of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Mahaweli Authority, the program targets 71,000 smallholder paddy farmers and 1,200 paddy seed farmers across 7 districts, including Polonnaruwa, Badulla, Ampara, Matale, Puttalam, Kurunegala and Hambantota districts, who were severely impacted by the recent economic crisis. Speaking at the event, which saw the official start of the farmer field schools, EU Ambassador to Sri Lanka Denny Chaibi said they want to help farmers not only grow more, but most importantly to grow better so that production can be increased, incomes improved and also protect the environment. He added that the EU hopes together with the FAO and the government of Sri Lanka to gradually promote a transition towards greener and climate-smart agriculture and one that produces sufficient amount of food while protecting the planet and its people. The recipient farmers will receive material and technical support to transition from traditional cultivation methods to climate-smart, modern farming techniques. The eligible paddy farmers cultivating up to 0.5 hectares of land will receive 50 kilograms of urea fertilizer and necessary tools to enhance efficiency of fertilizer use. 3,820 tons of urea fertilizer procured by the program were already handed over to the Ministry of Agriculture to be distributed among selected smallholder paddy farmers and paddy seed farmers. Paddy seed farmers supported through the program will also receive locally produced high-quality paddy seeds alongside material support such as parachute trays to improve efficiency and profitability of cultivation methods. Furthermore, all recipients will be enrolled in farmer field schools to improve knowledge sharing on modern techniques such as the integrated plant nutrient management strategy to boost efficiency and reduce dependency on the use of chemical fertilizer. Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera said that this program marks an important milestone in the FAO's work in Sri Lanka over the past year and the shift back into development from the emergency response. Now, Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaraveera stated that the President is trying to set up a national government in order to provide relief for the people at a time when the country is trying to come out of bankruptcy. However, meanwhile, the member of the Samgi Jana Balawegaya Rauf Hakim emphasized that the government is willing to provide opposition members with ministerial positions and privileges in order to fulfill their agenda, highlighting that this is the government's decision of a national government.
ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂ මහත්තයා ඉන්න කාලේ රට කරනවා නම් මේ අර්බුදෙන් ගොඩ එන්න ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක් හැදෙන හැටි ගැන අපි බොහොම පැහැදිලි කරුණු කීපයක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුව නියෝජනය කරන දේශපාලන පක්ෂවල නායකයින්ගෙන් සැදුම්ලත් උත්තර ආයතනයක් පිහිටවන්න කියලා අපි කිව්වා. ඒ උත්තර ආයතනයේ මගින් ඇමතිවරු 25ක් පමණ විද්‍යාත්මක ඇමති මණ්ඩලයක් පත් කරන්න කියලා අපි කිව්වා. සාමූහිකව අපි එකඟතාවයක් හදාගමු. අන්න එවැනි දෑ වෙනවා නම් ඇමතිකම් ඇතුව හෝ නැතුව ඒ ආණ්ඩුවට අත උස්සන්න අපි ලෑස්ති.
රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා ඒක කරන්නේ නැතුව Tamanට උමනා විදියට එක එක පක්ෂවල කට්ටිය අරගෙන ආණ්ඩුව හදනවා නම් එතුමා හිතන විදිහට ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක් කියලා පක්ෂ දෙකක් එකට එකතු වෙලා කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය 40ක් කරගන්න ඕන නම් අපි ඒවට සූදානම් නැහැ. අපි ඒවට එකඟ වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ. ඒ ඇමති මණ්ඩලවල අපි ඉන්නෙත් නැහැ.
ජනාධිපතිතුමා ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක් ගැන නෙමෙයි කතා කරන්නේ ජාතික වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ගැන. ජාතික ආණ්ඩුවක් හෝ වෙන්න පුළුවන් ජාතික වැඩපිළිවෙලක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ වෙලාවේ අවශ්‍යතාවය තියෙන්නේ පක්ෂ බෙදිලා කුලල් කා ගන්න එක නෙමෙයි. මේ බංකොලොත් වෙච්ච රට අද නැගී සිටින උත්සාහ දරන මොහොතේ සියලු දෙනාගේ වගකීම දේශපාලන පක්ෂ ප්‍රවර්ධනයට වැඩිය මේ රටේ ජනතාව මේ පීඩනයෙන් මුදවා ගන්න. ඒකට කවුරුත් එකතු වීමේ අවශ්‍යතාවය තියෙන නිසා තමයි ජනාධිපතිතුමා ආරාධනය කරන්නේ.
පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ජනාධිපතිවරයාට බහුතරයක් තියෙනවා නම් එතුමාට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ගේන හැම දෙයක්ම සම්මත කරගන්න පුළුවන් නම් මොකටද ජාතික ආණ්ඩුව? ඔය ජාතික ආණ්ඩුව කියලා එතුමා මං හිතන්නේ යෝජනා කරන්නේ තව විරුද්ධ පක්ෂයේ ඉන්න කට්ටියට ඇමතිකම් දීලා වරප්‍රසාද ලබා දීලා තමන්ගේ න්‍යාය පත්‍රයේ ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න අවශ්‍ය පිරිස ලබා ගැනීම තමයි ඔය ජාතික ආණ්ඩුව කියලා කියන්නේ. රටේ කිසිදු ජාතික ප්‍රශ්නයක් අද වෙනකම් මේ කිසිදු ජාතික ආණ්ඩුව වලින් විසඳිලත් නැහැ.
Now, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva stated that the agreement signed regarding the commencement of the construction of South Asia's largest commercial and logistics centre will help the Port of Colombo become a prestigious as well as competitive port. He added that the people involved in the merchant shipping industry are confident that the construction of this centre will make the Port of Colombo a strong port centre in South Asia. The signing of the agreement for the commencement of the construction of South Asia's largest commercial and logistics centre to be built in the Port of Colombo was done on last Friday at the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Aviation. This agreement was signed under the Minister of Ports chairmanship, Nimal Siripala de Silva. The 92-meter-high building with 8 floors is equipped with modern technology and facilities. The storage capacity of the area is 530,000 cubic meters. Since this commercial and logistics center will be built at the center of the port, it will be possible to transport goods, incoming containers from the port of Katunaike Airport and from the Katunaike Airport to the port expressway within 30 minutes. The Minister of Port, Shipping and Aviation says that the people involved in the merchant shipping industry are confident that the construction of this centre will make the Port of Colombo a strong port centre in South Asia. The ministry emphasizes that the construction work of this commercial and supply centre will cost about $400 million and will be implemented as a public-private partnership project. According to Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Services, 70% shares will be owned to Chin Merchant Company, 15% by Ports Authority and 15% by the Access Company.
Because Sri Lanka is undergoing a very difficult period at the moment, and my president, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, is trying his best together with us to revamp the economy and attract as much as foreign investment possible. So it's not easy to do that. But we are thankful to China Merchant Group for having confidence in Sri Lanka and the Port Authority and taking part in this project and decided to invest $400 million, which is a very sizable amount of investment. I think this is the highest investment which has come during this period. So we are very grateful to them. And in the same time, this project will establish the state-of-art logistics center in the Southeast Asia in Colombo. So the port of Colombo is a very important port, and we are developing this port to a great extent. And this was one of the setbacks. We didn't have a proper logistics center in the port of Colombo. So now with the establishment of this logistics center, we become a very prestigious port as well as a very competitive port in the Southeast Asian region. Because the competition we have to face in the international arena, in the maritime industry, unless we are very competitive and we provide the necessary facilities and make port efficient, we will not be able to compete with other ports in the Southeast Asia. So I'm sure with this project coming into effect, our port will earn more money, and in the same time will be a more efficient port, and our ranking in the international arena also will go up.
Now the police arrested a 51-year-old suspect who is believed to be the main suspect in connection to the murder of the 5 people found hacked to death in a house in the Delft Islands yesterday. Police media spokesperson SSP Nihal Taldova said that the suspect is believed to have been exiled from Germany and have been living in the Kites and Pungutivu Islands sans a permanent residence. 5 people were found hacked to death with sharp weapons in a house in the Delft Island in Jaffna last morning. According to police, 2 men and 3 women were among the victims. One of the men was killed in the middle of the house, while the other was killed in a room. One of the women residing in the house was also found dead in one of the bedrooms. Meanwhile, the remaining 2 women were found hacked to death with sharp weapons outside the house. Given this backdrop, the police arrested the main suspect of the murder last night. The police stated that 3 gold necklaces, 2 pairs of gold bangles, 8 rings, 1 pair of earrings, a gold pendant and 2 mobile phones were found in possession of the 51-year-old suspect. Preliminary investigations have revealed that the suspect had returned to Sri Lanka after living in Germany for about 20 years.
ජර්මනිය සහ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ කියන විදිත්ත පුරවැසිභාවය හිමි පුද්ගලයෙක් බවට තමයි තහවුරු නොවුතරතුරු වලින් කියන්නේ. ඒ වගේම ජර්මනියෙන් ඔහු පිටුවහල් කර බවට තහවුරු නොවුතරතුරු තියෙනවා. ඒ පිළිබඳවත් අපි තවදුරටත් සොයා බලනවා. මේ පුද්ගලයා ලංකාවට ඇවිල්ලා දැනට ස්ථිර පදිංචි ස්ථානයක් නොමැතිව විශේෂයෙන්ම කයිට්ස් ඒ වගේම පුංකුඩුතිව් වැනි දූපත්වල ඔහු සිටි බවට තමයි තොරතුරු තියෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේම ඔහු මේ නිවසේ එදින සිටි බවටත් දැනට තොරතුරු අනාවරණය වෙලා තියෙනවා.
And we'll be back with more news right after this short commercial break.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන් කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ටීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ටීමෝ වෙතින්. මේ අලුත් අවුරුද්දේ හිත පිරෙන ගනුදෙනුවකට හොඳම තැන හිත ගිය තැන බැංකුව HNB.
ශක්තිමත් මෙන්ම විශාලතම රාජ්‍ය රක්ෂණ ආයතනයක් වීම අපට මහත් අභිමානයක්. වසර 60කට අධික විශිෂ්ටත්වය රුපියල් බිලියන 274.6ක වත්කම් 190කට අධික ශාඛාජාලය රුපියල් බිලියන 158ක ජීවිත රක්ෂණ අරමුදලක් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ඉන්ෂුරන්ස්.
Welcome back. Now, the Federation of University Teachers Association has decided to hold an executive committee meeting to discuss future actions to be taken with regard to the answer sheet evaluation activities of the 2022 GCE Advanced Level Examinations. The media spokesperson of the association, Senior Professor Charudatta Ilangasinghe, stated that the authorities have yet to take steps to provide definitive solutions to their issues. He further mentioned that during the meeting, which is scheduled to be held on the 25th of April, a decision will be taken with regard to the matter. The professor stated that it is possible to complete the paper marking activities within 2 weeks if proper solutions are given for their issues. Now, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa stated that it is very clear that loss-making state-owned enterprises must be restructured. Making a statement with regard to the IMF agreement, he added that at present the country is at a state where resources are auctioned due to either weak policies, inefficiency as well as unclear programs conducted by the president and the government.
ජනාධිපතිවරයා ප්‍රමුඛ වත්මන් රජය පෙන්වන්න හදනවා IMF ගිවිසුම මේ රටේ සියලුම ප්‍රශ්නවලට තිබෙන එකම ගිවිසුම හැටියට. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම IMF එකට යා යුතුයි කියන ස්ථාවරය ප්‍රථමයෙන්ම ඉදිරිපත් කරේ සමගි ජන බලවේගයත් සමගි ජන සන්ධානය. ඒ මොහොතේ ඒ දේ වත්මන් රජය කරේ නැහැ. කල් මරමින්, කල් යවමින් තවදුරටත් රටත් ආර්ථිකයත් ජනතාවත් අන්ත ප්‍රපාතයට පත් කරමින් අවසාන මොහොතේ IMF වැඩසටහනකට යෑම තුළ රජය අපොහොසත් වුණා. රටේ පැත්තෙන් ජනතාවගේ පැත්තෙන් ලබාගත හැකි හොඳම ගිවිසුම රටට ලබා ගන්න. ඉතා පැහැදිලි ලාභ නොලබන රාජ්‍ය ආයතන ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණය වී යුතුමයි. ඒවා ලාභ ලබන ආයතන බවට පත් විය යුතුමයි. බංකොලොත් රටකට අලාභ ලබන ආයතන නඩත්තු කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් නැහැ. එනමුත් අද මේ මොහොත වන විට ජනාධිපතිවරයා ප්‍රමුඛ රජයේ දුර්වල ප්‍රතිපත්ති නිසා, අකාර්යක්ෂමතාවය නිසා, අපහැදිලි වැඩපිළිවෙල නිසා අපේ රට ලෝකයේ සිටින විවිධ ධන කුවේරින්ට, විවිධ ජාත්‍යන්තර ආයතනවලට ඉතාමත්ම සුළු මුදලකට ලබාගත හැකි රටේ සම්පත් කුණු කොල්ලෙට විකුණන මේ ආකාරයෙන් අපේ රට වෙන්දේසි ලන්තයක් බවට පත් වෙලා තිබෙනවා. රාජ්‍ය ආදායම උදෙසා දුටු දේ විකුණන ප්‍රතිපත්තියක අපේ නියලිස්ට්. ලාභ ලබන ආයතන විකිණීමේ සැලසුම් රජය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා. මෙතනදී රජය සිදු කළ යුත්තේ සිංගප්පූරුවේ ටෙමාෂෙක්, ඒ වගේම මැලේසියාවේ කසානා වැනි ඒ විවිධ ආකෘතීන් අනුගමනය කරලා අපේම රටේ ආකෘතියක් මොඩලයක් සකස් කරන්නට ඕන. අලාභ ලබන ආයතන ලාභ ලබන තත්ත්වයට ගෙනෙන්නට, ලාභ ලබන ආයතන තවදුරටත් වැඩි ආදායමක් ලබන, වැඩි ලාභයක් ලබන ආයතන බවට පරිවර්තනය කරන්න.
Now, head of the state-owned enterprise restructuring unit, Suresh Shah, says that his unit will prioritize the restructuring of bigger state-owned enterprises as well as the ones that have problems in order to reduce its impact on the country. Speaking to Indivari Amwatta at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, he said that the process might, however, take some time as some state-owned enterprises need to be unbundled from the issues that they have at the moment. Shah added that the last date for calling RFPs and EOIs for transaction advisors have been extended until the 8th of May and are expected to be on board by the end of next month.
What is the expected timeline also, even for you to put out RFPs?
So the RFPs and the EOIs for the transaction advisors have been put out. Responses were to close on the 27th of April. We got numerous requests for a time extension because of the traditional New Year holidays. I was not too happy about extending it, but because we got so many requests to extend, we've extended it up to the 8th of May. So that's the process on the transaction advisors. So they will be evaluated. There is a cabinet appointed procurement committee that will do the evaluation. Hopefully by towards end of May we'll have transaction advisors in place. Then of course from that point onwards, in terms of calling for proposals from investors, it depends on the enterprise because the transaction advisors and us, there is work to be done. We need to do a what's called a sell side due diligence, which is understand the pros and cons of the company, what the assets, the liabilities, are there hidden liabilities, are there hidden assets. So we need to do some cleaning up, which is the sell side due diligence. Then valuations will have to be done. We'll have to create data rooms which allow investors to come access data freely so that they can make an informed decision. So there are things that need to be done. This is going to take time. So the more complex entities will take longer, the less complex entities, less time. And there are complications. So I'll give you an example. If you take, say, Sri Lanka insurance, the insurance law in the country specifies that an insurer cannot have both life and general insurance under the same legal entity. But Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation, because it was government, for some reason was allowed to continue as a single entity, although it was very much against the law. Now, this is one of the problems of state-owned enterprises, right? They get special treatment. So before a transaction can be done on Sri Lanka insurance, it has to be unbundled. So now that's an additional complexity. So we've got to work through all these things. So depending on the enterprise, the time will take.
How are you going to work on this due diligence? Are you going to hire an outside party? Because we've also seen governments spend large sums of money on parties either to carry out different services or due diligence or anything. But at times they're useful, at times, well, they're questionable. So what is your plan here?
The due diligence, it's a couple of things. So there is due diligence, there is valuation, setting up the data room. So like this, there will be an extent of marketing. So there are these 5 or 6 things that a transaction advisor will have to do with respect to any entity. We don't have the capability. Well, you can set up the capability, but it's A, time consuming, B, it's extremely expensive to do that. And then once some of these things get done, then what you do with all those people. So these are all things that have been outsourced to transaction advisors. Transaction advisors are usually investment banks, then of course the big 4 accounting firms. That's roughly the profile of these people, right? So yes, we will be outsourcing that work to them, again through a very competitive and very transparent process. Is it expensive? Well, it's not cheap. How do we pay for it? We pay for it through the successful conclusion of a transaction. So usually it's a fee based on the transaction value, which also is an incentive for the transaction advisor to help increase the value that we will finally get for a transaction.
What SOEs are you prioritizing for reform, restructure, privatization?
Of course, the bigger entities will come first, obviously, because you attend to those and you take a lot of pressure off. So that's the approach we're taking. Let's look at the bigger entities first. Let's look at the more problematic ones. And from a privatization perspective also, where we can bring in money quickly, we are looking at a couple of aspects like that. And you must be knowing that Cabinet has already approved the privatization of, I think, 8 entities. So we are focusing on those as well. Divestment, yes. It's really the whole policy framework that's critical. And at this moment in time, in addition to the divestment, that's what we are working on.
Why is state-run CEB, CPC and other essential service providers not under your unit, and also the state banks?
Well, the CEB, CPC, I think the reform process started before our unit was set up. The ministry had taken that over. They're doing a pretty decent job with it, as we can see. So, I mean, if somebody is doing the job properly, let them do it. Where the state banks are concerned, again, with the debt restructuring and all of that, there may be things that need to be looked at which are a little bit beyond our unit, needs a particular level of expertise. Maybe that, again, will be handled separately. The central bank will need to be extensively involved in that process. So, again, that may not fall under our unit.
And that's all the news we have for you this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Tune into our social media pages to stay updated on the very latest news. Have a pleasant evening and good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.